Hey everyone, CT Luna here. Welcome to the Audio Lab. I'm so excited that you all are here. Um, so throughout this month of July, I'm running a little experiment. I know so many of you love to listen to your books. And since I'm getting ready to eventually record and publish the official audiobook for Brown Beyond Borders, I wanted to practice out loud with you first. So every single day this month, I'm pulling up a chair, reading a few pages of my memoir right here. Actually, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I do kind of batch read, so it's not every single day, but I'm dropping them every single day. And yeah, so if you're on the free list at Substack, these daily drops will stay open for just a few days before they head into the archives for my paid subscribers. So make sure you keep up. And if you ever miss a session or you want to unlock the whole archive to listen at your own pace, you can upgrade to a paid subscription at any time. And here's also a little hint. If you sign up for the monthly paid subscription through Substack, you can get a free copy of the ebook with your subscriptions. So you're all set there. You would get the ebook and you'd be able to access the archives, at least for the rest of the month, at your leisure. So just a thought. Anyway, today we are stepping into part two, which is all about navigating the workplace. I really think that this is where the book kind of picks up. Part one has been all about sort of like setting the scene and kind of getting everybody on the same page of the experiences of Black, Brown, and Golden creatives. And now this is where we're really sort of getting into the meat and potatoes of like what it is like to navigate the world and all the things. So we're going to start today with chapter 5, the intersections of Brown and the workplace. So let's kick it off. Chapter 5, the intersections of Brown and the workplace. Though we've established the unique challenges and opportunities faced by biracial and brown immigrant women in navigating traditional workplace cultures, it's important to acknowledge the broader context of how corporate culture itself has evolved. From rigid hierarchies to embracing diversity in the workplace, organizations' journeys provide a crucial backdrop for understanding the current landscape and the ongoing struggles for inclusivity. The corporate landscape has undergone a significant transformation since the Industrial Revolution, which established rigid hierarchical structures and standardized work practices designed for a homogeneous workforce. In the past, these structures not only perpetuated societal inequalities, but also stifled the potential for innovation and diverse perspectives. Today, however, organizations are increasingly recognizing the value of DEI as a business imperative, leading to a shift towards a more inclusive workplace culture. Admittedly, the journey towards inclusivity has been uneven and many challenges remain, particularly for women of color. The civil rights movement and the women's rights movement of the mid 20th century were instrumental in challenging these entrenched norms and paving the way for greater inclusivity and equal opportunities in the workplace. Through advocacy and activism, these movements gradually dismantled discriminatory practices, ultimately giving rise to the emergence of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. This shift was driven by a growing recognition that diversity is not just a moral imperative, but also a significant business advantage. Research consistently shows that diverse teams are more innovative, creative, and better equipped to solve complex problems. More importantly, the study is also showing that diversity in company leadership is more profitable. According to a 2023 McKinsey and Company report, quote, companies in the top quartile for both gender and ethnic diversity in executive teams are on average 9% more likely to outperform their peers. This gap has closed slightly since our previous report. Meanwhile, those in the bottom quartile for both are 66% less likely to outperform financially on average up from 27% in 2020, indicating that lack of diversity may be getting more expensive, end quote. In an increasingly globalized marketplace, organizations that fail to embrace diversity risk alienating customers and missing out on a vast pool of talent. I'm used to being a minority at work. As a multiracial woman who grew up in the United States to parents whose backgrounds were rooted abroad, I was accustomed to being the only fill in the blank foreigner, biracial person, woman, young person in the early years of my career when I was working in Washington. Now, in the second half of my career, working in Zurich, Switzerland, I have often been the only something in most meetings. One time we were having a team meeting to which we had invited the company's newest appointee to handle corporate social responsibility. The white male accountant joined the call. He announced, "First off, we're no longer calling it corporate social responsibility. From now on, it's just corporate responsibility." I blinked. CSR had been a clear term for years, outlining a corporation's social and environmental obligations. But this man, with a straight face, continued, quote, "As a firm, our responsibility is to make sure we remain profitable and viable so that we may continue to provide our clients with high quality services," end quote. He signed off the call, and an awkward silence filled the air. My colleagues and I, a mix of women and our male boss, stared at each other, dumbfounded. We had just been mansplained to for 30 minutes, told our responsibility was to remain profitable. He'd effectively rewritten the CSR script, erasing any responsibility to employees, communities, or stakeholders beyond the bottom line. The firm's much touted commitment to corporate responsibility felt hollow. It overlooked the deep rooted systemic issues that perpetuated inequality, the very problems CSR should address. It also felt like a slap in the face to those of us from marginalized backgrounds who lived with the consequences of these systemic inequities daily. To me, it felt like a dismissive attempt to simplify or brush away the complex issues of prejudice and discrimination, reducing them to best swept, uh, reducing them to dust best swept under the rug, rather than acknowledging companies' roles in perpetuating these systemic problems, or even companies' potential to drive a positive impact in addressing them. Despite this disappointing encounter, I remain generally optimistic about the organization's commitment to diversity and inclusion. They had appointed a new corporate responsibility representative, increased women's networking events, and even promoted a female partner to chairwoman of the board. These were significant steps, especially considering the extremely low rates of female representation in the firm's senior leadership. Our team itself was a testament to this progress. Led by a man, we were predominantly female, a stark contrast to the rest of the firm. Other teams often criticized us for lacking diversity, but their perspective highlighted the organization's narrow definition of diversity and inclusion. Despite our small size, our team's diversity in terms of nationality, ethnicity, race, and even gender rivaled that of the rest of the firm. We were breaking the mold, and for that, we were admired. But even within this progressive bubble, I encountered limitations. At a women's networking event, I inquired about expanding the diversity discourse beyond gender parity. I suggested including male allies who champion women leaders or individuals working to dismantle systemic barriers. The response? Simply no budget. This answer, delivered with a shrug, was a stark reminder of the disconnect between corporate pronouncements and lived experiences. While the organization was taking steps towards diversity and inclusion, it openly admitted that its commitment had a price tag. It was frustrating, a glimpse into the gap between rhetoric and reality that would continue to shape my journey within the company. The summer of 2020 was a pivotal moment in American and global history, marked by a surge of protests and activisms against, let me start over. The summer of 2020 was a pivotal moment in American and global history, marked by a surge of protests and activism against racial injustice. The movement was ignited on May 25th by the brutal killing of George Floyd, a Black man, by a Minneapolis police officer who knelt on his neck for over 9 minutes. The video footage of Floyd's death, captured by bystanders, sparked outrage and ignited a global conversation about systemic racism and police brutality. The Black Lives Matter movement, which had been growing in prominence in recent years, became a rallying cry for millions of people. The outrage carried over into other parts of the world, including Zurich, where more than 10,000 people took to the streets wearing masks, Black clothing, and carrying signs that said, quote, "Racism is a pandemic too," end quote. The protests demanded justice for Floyd and countless other Black victims of violence, including Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Elijah McClain, and Tony McDade. These are just a few of the many Black victims of police violence whose cases fueled the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. The movement also called for systemic changes, including police reform, criminal justice reform, and increased investment in Black communities. The summer of 2020 saw a remarkable display of solidarity and activism. Millions of people of all races and backgrounds participated in protests, marches, and other forms of action. The movement also gained widespread support from celebrities, athletes, politicians, and corporations. This outpouring of support led to several concrete changes. In the United States, many cities and states have implemented police reforms, including bans on chokeholds and requirements for officers to wear body cameras. There was also a significant shift in corporate consciousness. The event had a profound impact on corporations, forcing them to confront their role in perpetuating systemic racism and discrimination. Before Floyd's murder, DEI initiatives within organizations were often fragmented and superficial, focusing on focusing on checkbox diversity by simply increasing the number of people from marginalized backgrounds in their workforce without addressing the underlying issues that hindered their advancement and success. While the rise of DEI awareness in response to George Floyd's murder has been a positive development, it's essential to acknowledge that there is still much work to be done. Companies need to move beyond performative actions and focus on creating sustainable change that benefits all employees. This requires a long-term commitment to dismantling systemic racism and building a truly inclusive workplace culture. I think I'm going to end it there today. This was a meaty read, and I am going to make sure to ask you, if you have any questions and if you're curious about any of the passages in this book, again, feel free to drop a comment either in YouTube or in Substack, and I'm happy to respond to it in a future segment. And I might just answer yours on a future episode. I'm really glad I get to share this unedited process with you. I'm learning a lot about the process of recording audio and kind of how to get ready for the serious work when that time comes. So look out for the next pages in your inbox tomorrow morning. If you know someone who would connect with this part of the journey, please share this post with them while it's still open to the public. And if you want to support this audio experiment and my writing as I start drafting book 2, consider becoming a paid subscriber to unlock everything. And you can unlock it for either a month or a year. That's really up to you and how you want to work with Substack. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you mañana. Ciao for now.